James, and I'm here today for another live play of Rolling Realms. Today I have Arc Nova, Wingspan, and A Feast for Odin. Two of these are promo realms. Arc Nova and A Feast for Odin are promo realms. So with Arc Nova, the way we'll play is that you can either use a number to cross off any number of outlined circles for that number. So you can see a few of them start off outlined, and you gain one of the benefit down below for each circle that you cross off. Actually, that's how you use the realm. That's how you activate the realm. Also, at the end of every turn, you can you'll outline one circle using one rolled die that you didn't use in this realm this turn, even if you did or didn't activate this realm. So, for example, if I use, say, a 1 to activate this realm, cross off that circle, I gain 1 pumpkin, and then I also rolled a 5. Then I could, at the end of my turn, I could use that 5 to circle one of the circles under 5. So I'm kind of trying in a way to not use certain numbers that I roll so that I can circle specific, so I can outline specific circles here. That is that one. And then in A Feast for Odin, hey, Jonathan. He says he can't play live today, but he's going to check in later. Awesome. Yeah, good luck, Jonathan. Take care. I'm doing this on Tuesday, which isn't usually when I do it. So, yeah, feel free to play along live or later on. We'll do A Feast for Odin. In Feast for Odin, unlike Tapestry, you can only use each of these shapes once, unless you use a 6. A 6, you can use any shape. You don't have to cross it off. You just get to use that shape. And there are numbers corresponding to the shapes, and you'll just fill in those shapes on one of these islands, and you'll gain stars as you cross them off or as you complete islands. All right, let's jump right into it. First roll, we have a 6 and a 5. 6 and a 5. Either of those actually are great for, well, yeah, they're actually really great for A Feast for Odin and Arc Nova. So for A Feast for Odin, I can use a 6 over here, and I don't even have to mark the shape as used once I do that. So I can use any shape, and I don't have to mark it as used, which is wonderful. So I can choose the biggest, best shape. Which one do I want to use? You know, I'll try to finish off this island. This is a way that I can get one of everything here. If I use this shape over here on this island, and I get one of everything. Oh, no, I don't get 2 of everything. 1 of everything. And then with this 5, so I don't really want to use a 5 over an Arc Nova because I don't have any outlined circles yet. So I think I'll use the 5 in Wingspan. I think this is a good place to use it. Use a high number over there. And then I could use Arc Nova, but Arc Nova is an interesting one in that you don't really have to activate it all that often to gain the benefit. I need to activate it 6 times. Or even just twice if I filled in the right number of circles. So I need to also be generating resources from Arc Nova. I think, you know, I'll just give this a try. I'll use my coin to circle the 1 here, and then at end of turn, I didn't use the 5 or the 6, so I can, oh no, I'm sorry, I always mix this up in Arc Nova. I don't circle it. I will actually cross off this 1, and I'll gain a pumpkin. And now at end of turn, this is when I'll circle. So I will circle a, I don't know, I'll circle a 5. I'll circle a 5 over there. Okay. Next roll. A 6 and a 3. Another flexible 6. 6s are very flexible for Feast for Odin and Arc Nova. I'm tempted to use it again for Feast for Odin because I don't have to cross off the shape when I use it for Feast for Odin. So I think I'll do it again. Let's go for that same shape and put it up here. So there's a coin, a pumpkin, and a star. No heart, though. And I have a 3 as well. So I could use a 3 in Arc Nova. I like that one. And so that would leave a 1 for Wingspan, which I'm fine with. I'll use a 1 in Wingspan right over here and get a pumpkin. And I'll use the 3 in Arc Nova, cross off that, get a coin. And then at the end of turn, I did not use the 6 in Arc Nova, and so I get to circle any shape. If you're wondering what this has to do with building a zoo, it doesn't really have anything to do with building a zoo, but it does have to do with a specific mechanism in Arc Nova where the cards that you don't use become more powerful. So you use a card, you slide it out of your action row, and the other cards become more powerful. All right, turn 3. A 6 and a 4. I'm loving these 6s with this combination. This is very generous. The 4 is also good in Arc Nova. Either of these numbers is good in Arc Nova. Again, though, a Feast for Odin. It's really tempting to not use the 6 over here because I don't have to cross anything off. So I think I'll keep this 6 streak going. I'll keep using maybe the big shapes. Yeah, I'll use this big shape. I'll keep using the same exact shape right there to get a heart and a star. See Walter coming in the background here. Get some food. That was the 6. The 4 I'll use in Wingspan. Yeah, because I don't have anything to cross off in Arc Nova. I'm hoping basically to, you'll see in a second, I think. I'll explain it out loud. I'll use the 4 in Wingspan. I'll put the 4 right there. So at the end of turn, I didn't use the 6 in Arc Nova, so I will circle this. So I'm hoping now on this next turn that I will actually roll a 5. And that way, with a single 5, I can get 3 stars. And then I don't have to think about 5s anymore for the rest of the game in Arc Nova. No 5 yet, but we can do that on a future turn. That's completely fine. And the 2 I can actually use in Arc Nova if I want to. And yet another 6, which is amazing. How do I want to use the 6? I can use it for any number I want. Let's finish off an island. Let's use the 6 for this 3 to get a coin and a pumpkin. And then the 2, what do I want to do with the 2? So I could use the 2 in Arc Nova. I could also use the 2 in Wingspan. I would almost rather use the 6 in Wingspan though. So I think what I'll do is I'll use the 2 in Arc Nova. There we go, get a heart. In Wingspan, I will use 3 hearts to copy the 6 and put it right here. That way I only need a 5 to finish that off. I need 5s for 2 reasons now, but that's okay. We have a bunch of turns left. Here is a pumpkin off of that. If I keep rolling 6s, I'll just manipulate it into a 5. All right, next roll. A pair of 2s. All right, that could be a little tricky. Garrett says, I won't be able to make the live last, but I wanted to ask you a question if that's okay with you to answer tomorrow if you're up for it. Shemphil has recently announced a complete redesign of Shipwrights to replace the original. I was curious on your take on the idea of redesigning and re-releasing a game. You know, that's interesting. I'll need to think about that a little bit, Garrett. But off the cuff, I think that's pretty cool. I think that takes a lot of humility to look back on an old design and be like, I've learned a lot since then. There's something in this world that I want to do differently for this game, and I'm going to give it a shot. Or maybe he's already done it. Maybe he's already designed it. So I think that's pretty cool. I think that he's doing that. Yeah. Yeah, I think it would have to be, the right game. I think clearly Shem is probably very passionate about that game and maybe the ideas that he has for the redesign. And I'm all for it. I think that's really neat. I don't think I've played Shipwrights. Not that I can recall. All right, so we have a pair of 2s to use here. Can't do anything with the 2 in Arc Nova. I will end up at end of turn using the 2. Oh, did I do the end of turn thing last turn? 6 and 2? No, I didn't. I should have used the 6 right there. Got to remember to do that. The 2, let's put the 2 over in Wingspan right here to get a coin. And in a Feast for Odin, I think the 2 is best spent over here in a Feast for Odin. So this is one instance where I actually do have to cross off the shape for once let's cross it off up here and get another coin. And then we have we use the 2 there. End of turn, we will circle a 2 because we didn't use a 2 in Arc Nova. Turn 6. 4 and a 3. 3 and a 4. So I could use 2 coins to copy one of these numbers if I wanted to. A 3 and a 4. So I like not using the 4 in Arc Nova. So I won't use the 4 there. The 3, so in Wingspan, I definitely like using the 4 right here to get the 2 stars instead of just 1 star from Wingspan. The 3 actually works perfectly either way for a Feast for Odin. So let's go with, it really doesn't matter. I need both these shapes at some point, so I'll go with the shape that gives me more stuff. A heart and a pumpkin. And I have completed 2 islands now, so there's these 2. I just need to complete 1 more island. And I don't think I really need to activate anything in Arc Nova at this point, so I won't. Instead, end of turn, I did not use a 4 in Arc Nova. There's the 4. Turn 7. A 5 and a 1. There's that 5 I was hoping for. So 5 and a 1. So I need to use the 5 in Arc Nova. So there we go. That is a 3-star turn for Arc Nova. Actually, it's kind of coming out of the wire here for Arc Nova. I definitely need to not use a 4 or a 6 on my next turn, or it's not going to work out. Thank you, Garrett, for that link about shipwrights. I will definitely check that out. I appreciate that. I'm curious what your thoughts are, too, if you want to share them at some point. I think the redesign is the interesting part. That he's not just making a new edition, that he's completely redesigning it. That's ambitious. I think it specifically works for him because he has this series of games that fit into a world. Otherwise, he could just design another game and call it, what's the other word for shipwrights? There's another word for it, but yeah, you could just call it something else. So use 5 over there. I probably need a copy of 5 for Wingspan. Let's see if I can get a heart. Yeah, I can get a heart. So I'll use a 1. Ooh, this makes a Feast for Odin a little tricky. I think what I'll do is create a 3 and use it in a Feast for Odin to just finish this off. That gives me the star, also gives me a heart. Now I have the 3 hearts so that I can copy the 5 and use it in Wingspan. Where I need it right there and get a star. Now here's the tricky thing. Yeah, we've come down to a little bit of luck here because Arc Nova only cares about rolled dice. And so I need to roll a 4 or a 6 or I will not be able to complete Arc Nova. Got a 6. Got it. Awesome. 6 and a 3. So I won't use the 6 in Arc Nova. So end of turn, I will... Oh, what did I roll last turn? 5 and a 1. So I need to circle a 1. I didn't use a 1 on my last turn. Got to remember to do that at end of turn. Garrett says it's total mechanical redesign. He said that the first attempt at it led to the legacy of you. I think, like you said, it takes a lot of humility to do something, and I completely respect the idea. Really look forward to trying it out. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. 6 and a 3. So the 6 works pretty well in Wingspan. I don't need to do anything else in a Feast for Odin. 3 doesn't really do anything for me. Did I even use the 1 on my last turn? I didn't use the 1. So let's call that 1 a coin. Okay, so this turn, let's make sure I remember. Here's the 6. I've used the 6. The 3 I can't use, and so here's another coin for the 3. Final turn, end of turn. I did not use the 6 in Arc Nova. It can be any number. I will circle that. So I just need a 4 on this last roll. I'll get a better score if I can roll a 4 here. I can create a 4, though, if I want to. There's a 4. Wow, this round really worked out. This might be one of the higher scores that I ever get. Although I will need to use some coins for Wingspan. But the 4 in Arc Nova, right there. 3 more stars. The 5 I can't use. I mean, I could use it. Let's do this first. I'll finish Wingspan so I can't use it. Here are 2 coins. Here's a 2. There's the rest of the stars. I didn't mark off all the stars there. And the 5 I can't use anywhere now. And so the 5 is just another random number here. So I'm getting the full 18. This is a 5 and a 4. The full 18 plus... Yeah, maybe I think people have gotten over 20. I think I may have gotten over 20 at some point. Didn't happen here, but 19.1 is a very good score. I'm looking forward to seeing if anyone can beat that. I think it'll be tough, but I know it's possible if you were a little bit more efficient than I was here. Yeah. Arc Nova, Wingspan, a Feast for Odin. That was fun. Thank you, Garrett and Jonathan, for chiming in the comments. And if you are playing along in the future, let me know what you scored and remind me in your comment that I scored a 19.1 so I can applaud you or appreciate you for playing along anyway. All right, I'll be back tomorrow for round two. I'll see you then. Bye.